So,
All right. So, welcome to BS with Joe. I'm Brad Scott, and that's where the BS comes from, and that's Joe.
it is.
So we've been talking about a lot of different things on a lot of different videos. Welcome if this is your first time to our show. Right now, we're going to talk about things that Trump's doing that's not so good, and it involves the Middle East and immigration.
Well, the Middle East is a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. Because not just Gaza and Israel and Palestine, that whole thing is a nightmare. But now Iran is playing they actually are developing a nuclear program.
They have been for years.
Yeah.
You look at
They're now at the point where they have enriched uranium.
right, and that was all thanks to Obama.
Right.
Obama actually incentivized them, gave them money, allowed them to do this research, and it was for nuclear power because they need to create power.
That's not what they used it for.
That's not, of course not.
Yeah.
If you look at the leadership of that country, he's a zealot.
Yeah.
He's
It's still Khomeini, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And he believes Americans, Israelites, and anybody that's not Muslim
Infidels.
as infidels and heretics and need to be wiped off the earth.
Yeah, well, that's what devout Muslims believe.
Right. If they, I'm not against a Muslim that does not believe in Sharia law or the caliphate. The caliphate's where a lot of this, against the Western and the Jewish faith.
Yeah.
If they shun the caliphate, I'm okay with them because they probably have a lot of similar beliefs to a lot of Christians and other
They do.
individuals. But if they believe in the caliphate
And Sharia law.
and Sharia law, they're probably going to be against a lot of my interests.
Yep. I mean, you can't be in favor of Sharia law and women's rights.
And caliphate.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the big things that's going on with the Middle East and all that is with Israel and Tehran and
Right.
everything like that. Now, I don't want to get involved in any wars. We voted on Trump so he wouldn't get us into another war. And Israel has kind of dragged us in this by bombing the shit out of Iran.
And not only did they bomb the shit out of Iran, Israel came right out and said that the United States is going to join this fight.
That's where I think Trump needs to put his boot down and say, or not boot down, I should say, bring the big backhand and say, no, you're not. If it wasn't for us defending you, you wouldn't even have a country.
He's actually done the opposite.
I know. And that's the thing that, unless he's doing this as a scare tactic to bring Iran to
saber rattling.
Saber rattling. If it's saber rattling, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. See, Donald Trump, his negotiating style and everything he does is come in hard and then pull back.
Yeah.
He did it with the tariffs. He did it with immigration because now he's waffling on that and saying, oh, by the way, if you're working alien...
you spent 20 years on a farm,
you're okay. Well, all right. Thanks, Donald.
Yeah, my whole thing on that, and I've talked about a little bit on this in a previous segment, and I'm just going to go real quick. I don't want to stay on it too long. Is there's ways to innovate and to where you don't need slave labor to farm equipment or work on roofs or anything like this. There's been so much technological advancement on all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we still do, we still treat everything like as if it's 1950s.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it there, and okay. Well, if you're going to be okay with them staying, why even deport anybody?
Right. So I'm sorry I threw that tangent in there, but yes. So Donald Trump today, just a couple hours ago, said that anybody that's in Tehran needs to evacuate.
Yeah. And that's
and he's basically saying that he come right out and said that we know where the Ayatollah is. and he's not safe.
Well, in the evacuation, I've seen the videos of people evacuating Tehran and everything like that.
Yeah.
It is impressive. And that's going to, and I think Israel did the same thing with bombing the hell out of that television station.
Yeah.
And on live air to get a point across.
Yeah.
And what needs to happen, and I believe this now, I don't know if it'll happen, is the Iranian people need to stand up to their leader, realizing that he's going to send them all to slaughter.
I don't think it's going to happen. Same thing with Afghanistan.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. They don't think for themselves.
No. Well, they did when they get people like Saddam Hussein out, or the other guy, Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Because Gaddafi was turning around his country. The only reason why we went in and destabilized the country and had the people go after him was because he decided to try to sell oil for gold or silver instead of U.S. dollars.
Right.
Because both those individuals, America put in power.
Right.
And we had to take them out.
Yeah.
Now, Ayatollah, we have not put him in power.
No.
But he was a result
we
of...
helped him.
Well, yeah, he was a result of us destabilizing the country.
Yeah, and we did help him get into power. We didn't put him in power, but...
Therefore, we need to just get our freaking asses out of, okay, I'm an isolationist. I'll agree.
Well, that's why USAID is shut down.
Right. America needs to take care of Americans instead of all these other countries. This is a little tangent I'm going to go on, is the Congress approved a couple of $1 billion to increase cellular networks in the U.S. Well, it wasn't spent in the U.S., it was spent in Africa.
What?
This is something that...
If Congress approved it to be spent on American soil...
Right.
How does it get spent in Africa legally?
There's a way they did it. I don't know. I think it had to do with USAID.
Probably.
Because it's USA. We're going to help out USA.
And how much of that money got filtered into somebody else's pocket?
All
That's the thing with USAID. The biggest problem with them is that somebody was getting rich on every single one of their deals.
Absolutely. And
from our money.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that's why that money was supposed to go to help infrastructure for cellular networks in mountain areas like West Virginia and other places like this, probably. North Carolina. Instead, let's go help a country that has a minority that needs assistance, like Africa. Well, they're considered a minority because they're African American, or Africans, not African Americans, Africans.
Right.
And, they're a minority. But if
they're not a minority in their country?
No, not in their country. And if you look at, if you actually looked at population as a whole,
yeah,
white individuals only make up like 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
So it's that whole belief system with other countries does not apply.
I agree.
And I'm just against it because it goes against my belief of persons should be judged based off their character and not the color of their skin.
I fully agree.
That's what Malcolm X, or not Malcolm X, Martin Luther King.
And I didn't watch the video, but I saw a snippet of a video where some of the left are are going after Martin Luther King and trying to basically cancel him over something. I don't know what, but
yeah.
What the hell?
Well, that's the thing is,
how do you cancel somebody like that?
It's the left wanting to radicalize and go to socialism and communism. That's all there is to it.
Okay.
Because if you look at socialism and communism, it leads to the same thing that wound up creating the Nazi Party.
Right. And Stalin.
Yeah. But What was the topic of this?
Well, we were originally going to start talking about how.
Oh yeah, Trump's not doing all this
yes.
well, but he's still doing well, but
He is doing well.
he needs to stay on topic and go after what Americans voted him into office for.
Right. And the other thing that I know that a lot of Republicans are waiting to see him take the leash off of Patel. And what's her name?
Pam Bondi.
Pam Bondi.
Well, I think he actually has taken the leash off. I think he's actually asking more of them to produce because it helps with his numbers and his popularity.
You know, his popularity skyrocketed after the LA riots and the way he handled them.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is he's taken the leash off of them. They're holding him back because they don't want to release this stuff. Here's some of the things.
I've heard Kash Patel talking a little bit about what's going on in the FBI, and he keeps saying he's got all these things on the burners that are cooking, but he can't release anything until he's not going to send anything out that's not ready.
Right, because he has to have indictments, he has to have warrants, he has to have arrests.
Yes.
Then all this stuff is going to come out to light. Because if you release it ahead of all that, it becomes hearsay.
Right.
And it what it does is it makes the case toxic.
True.
Because
And then it's not even enforceable then.
Then it's not enforceable.
Yeah.
So if
you have people like Elizabeth Warren getting away with whatever she wants to do.
Right.
And Nancy Pelosi.
Yes. Speaking of her, she's trying to do something to stop something, and there's a petition she's trying to get.
Which one, Warren or Pelosi?
Warren.
Yeah. Warren is a disturbing person.
Oh, she is.
She's very disturbing. I watched her interviewing Pete Hegseth.
Mm-hmm.
And she asks a question. She doesn't allow him to answer it. I mean, he starts to answer, and then she changes what he says three things, and then she changes all that around and says it back to him in a completely different way and says, "You said this." Well, no, you said that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what politicians do. That's what politicians of Elizabeth Warren's ilk do. Is they when they have these committees where they have somebody there and they're questioning them.
Right.
They're using it for grandstanding. So they're going to put words in their mouths to bolster what they're talking about, to say this is why I'm on the right side of history.
But everybody can see that it's bullshit.
You and I could see it's bullshit. But if they take just her talking the way she talks with the way the left believes, and they give that to the left, they're going to eat all that up and they're going to vote for her again.
You're right, because they don't see the whole thing.
They don't see the whole thing.
They only see the snippet that
they only want to believe what they want to believe. If they really wanted to investigate it and spend the time to investigate it, they would investigate everything that they talked about with Pete Hegseth and everything about his life.
Right.
And then they would see, oh, I was wrong about this. And there's a lot of people from the far left that are starting to cross and starting to wake up and see things.
I mean, I don't know that we really need to worry that much right now about the far left.
I'm not too worried about it.
They have basically imploded.
They're still imploding.
Yeah.
And
the whole No Kings thing, yes, they're showing all these numbers of people, the hundreds of thousands or whatever that showed up for these riots. I mean, city Chicago, there was like 60,000 that showed up in a city that has 3 million.
Right. And a lot of those videos that they show, a lot of them are doctored with artificial intelligence.
Yes. The FBI actually, Dan Bongino was talking about it on Twitter. They used satellite reconnaissance on a protest.
Sorry about my dog.
Okay.
She heard something and she has to go investigate.
Probably her mommy coming home.
Yeah, it's my alarm system that only costs me dog food every day.
But anyway, the satellite was able to get an accurate count of how many people were there. The left said that it was like 60,000, and it turns out it was like 28,000.
Right.
Yeah. And then also, through this satellite, they pinged cell phones. Because, we have scary technology that really is Big Brother on steroids, and it's just shouldn't be. But it's there, and they used it. So they found that at least 30% of the people that were in that 28,000 crowd had been to at least 6 other events, including some of them were on the Kamala Harris campaign trail. These are paid people that show up when they're paid.
Oh yeah. Well, what it is no Kings actually showed me a lot of stuff. So what it is they're the organizers. They're the ones that set everything up. They're the ones that get slogans ready. They're the ones that get flyers ready. They're the ones that get all this stuff prepared.
Deliver the pallets of bricks.
Well, yeah, if they go that far.
They did.
And but those are all somewhat doctored too, because I've seen people post videos of bricks, but they're from other countries, not even our country.
Well, the video that I saw was a semi-load of bricks that were dropped off on the streets in Los Angeles.
Yeah, no, that one's legit.
Yeah.
And not only that, but they're also getting hammers and smashing up curbs.
Right.
To use to throw at police during the
and then
ice
you've got
stuff.
the masks getting handed out to people. Those masks are at least $60 each, and they were paying up hundreds of them.
Yep. And there's a lot to go in and investigate and all that. I haven't quite done a lot to dig on some of that, which I'm still working on.
Bondi's actually, she's on that.
She's on that.
She wants to find out where the money's coming from.
Oh yeah.
I can already tell you where it's coming from.
Oh yeah.
It's the DNC.
Oh yeah.
Act Blue.
Yeah, all these NGOs.
Yeah. Which you can link back to Soros.
Well, not only Soros, but it's how the left or the Democratic Party is able to get funding.
Yeah.
They create these events, they get all these people riled up, they get people invited, and now all of a sudden they're brainwashed because of the people there,
right?
And giving them propaganda. Now they're thinking, oh, this has got to be so good. This is, everything's so evil. America's so evil.
Right.
That's how they do all this stuff. That's why they organize. It's an event, so we could go to this event and check it out. Bring a friend.
Did you happen to catch Ben Shapiro talking about what Trump should do with California?
No.
He said, Ben Shapiro says, let him burn.
Let him burn. Right.
Just pull back. Say, Gavin, you're on your own.
I tried.
Yeah.
We're trying to help.
We are washing our hands of California. You can burn in hell.
The only problem is with that is you're going to leave a lot of Republicans and a lot of voters going like, but what about us?
You are, because California will implode. If we leave them to their own devices, they will implode.
Well, that goes back
to destroy themselves.
That goes back to the problem that I have with the big beautiful bill is the SALT tax.
Yeah.
So what the SALT tax do is they basically fund the Democratic cities and states and whatever that are in the negative on their budgets.
They all are.
They all are. They're all in the negative on their budgets, and that's why Trump's putting it into this bill so that way the Democrat voters in the House and Senate will hopefully vote for it.
So this is the part that's costing us so much money.
That's the biggest part. That's what costs us so much.
And the funny thing is, the Democrats are the ones that are saying this isn't going to help the budget. No, it's not, because you're taking all the money.
Mm-hmm. And and that's why I believe just leave the SALT out of it. Try, if any Republican governor or senator doesn't vote for it without the SALT tax,
right,
then they're rhinos.
Yeah.
And get them primaried as soon as possible.
We do have some rhinos.
Oh yeah. So I'm done with that. But what do you want to talk about with our next segment?
I don't know. Let's take a little break.
Okay.
And then we'll come back to it.
Okay. Like, share, subscribe.
Please.
and leave a comment.